So this is just a quick video to show you how you might want to complete your graphing activity for this week. I'm going to walk you through exactly how you would graph this. If you have some graphing experience before, then that's fine. You can go ahead and use whatever program you have at home that you want to use. But I'm going to show you how to just use Google Sheets to graph this. So you're going to need two sets of data or documents to complete this. The first document that you're going to need is available on the assignment page. It's the actual handout. It's called Trends in the Periodic Table, and this is what you're going to be submitting. The other piece of information you need is the data that you were emailed. Everyone was emailed different data, so your data should look something like this, where you've got elements, atomic numbers, and some sort of information. The information actually varies depending on what you got. So what you want to do is you want to graph this, and you are going to graph this using the procedure. So you're going to use the data emailed to you to complete your graph. Make sure you're not sharing data because everyone has gotten different data. The first thing you want to do is be sure to sort each element by increasing atomic number. So if you take a look here, these atomic numbers are actually jumbled. So you want to sort by increasing atomic number. Easiest way to do that is I am just going to go ahead. I'm going to select this row here. I'm going to go to Insert Row, and it's going to put a new row right on top. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to search for the lowest atomic number that I have. Lowest atomic number I have is hydrogen. So I'm going to go ahead, I am going to cut this, and I am going to paste it up here. Then I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to insert a row. I'm going to search for my second highest atomic number, helium, down here. I am going to cut this, and I am going to paste it up here. Once you've done that, so I'm only going to do it for two. You want to do it for all of your data. You can go ahead and you can proceed to the next step. Now, any gaps that you might have here, you want to make sure you're getting rid of these gaps. So to get rid of these gaps, you're just going to want to go ahead and go to Delete Row. And you want to go ahead and you want to go to Delete Row. Now, another thing you want to do before you start graphing is if you see some data points have this little dash here, this just means that there's no information available for that data. So if there is a dash, you want to go ahead and just change that to a 0 because everything has to be numbers before we graph. So I'm going to change that to 0. I'm going to change this one to 0. I am going to change this one to 0, and then I should be good to go. So to create your graph, you just want to go ahead and you want to select all data, not just the data, but you want to select these headings as well too. That is going to label your axes for you. So I'm going to select all of this data. So I've got all my data selected. I'm going to go to Insert, and I am going to go to Chart. Now, I asked you to complete a line graph, so you want to make sure that you select line graph. So we're going to go over here, and we are going to select line. So this is the nice base for my graph. It looks good. I have to make a couple changes though. So some of the changes that I'm asking you to make, you need to give yourself a nice good title. This is just an auto-generated title. You want to give your graph a nice good title, and your graph title should be descriptive of what you're trying to graph. So what were you trying to show on your graph? And that's going to depend on what data you got. So you want to go ahead and change your graph title. This legend here you don't need, so we can go ahead and we can just hit delete. It's going to get rid of that for us. And then other than that, your graph should be good to go. Now we're ready to label our graph. So the next thing that you're asked to do is you're asked to use a text box to write the symbol for the elements in each peak on your graph. So you're going to notice on this graph, we have peaks, right? My graph isn't going to look quite the same as yours. I didn't organize all of my elements, so you should have nice obvious peaks on your graph. A peak is the top set of data. In order to put a text box and label our peaks, you're going to want to open this in Google Drawing. So all we're going to do is you're going to open a blank Google Drawing. You just literally type into Google Drawing. It's going to pull up a blank Google Drawing, and you are going to copy. So to copy in Google, Command C. So we're going to copy, and we're going to paste over here. Now we've got our graph in Google Draw. Now we can actually label our peaks. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to use text boxes to label our peaks. So for example, here's a nice big peak here for me. The element of this peak is helium. So this element here, that's a peak, that's helium. So I am going to label this helium. Again, you're going to have some nice obvious peaks. Here's another peak over here. That one is lithium. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to label this peak here. And I'm going to label it as lithium. So again, your data is going to look a lot nicer than mine because I didn't complete sorting it. So you're going to have those nice obvious peaks. You want to label the element at the top of each peak. The other thing we want to do is we want to label this axis over here, right? We didn't have this axis labeled. So you want to tell me what it is you were measuring in your graph. So for example, my data was measuring second ionization energy. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to type second ionization energy. I'm going to include the unit as well too in brackets. All of you were given units. You want to make sure that you include your unit. And then in order to get this to go along my axis, I'm just going to go up at the top here. And at the top, I can rotate this. So I'm just going to rotate it. I am going to move this over here. And now I've labeled my axis. So I have this axis labeled. I have this axis labeled. You're going to label all of your peaks. You're going to have more than 2 for your peaks. You're going to have changed your nice title here. Once you've done that, you're ready to import your graph into your document. So to import your graph, you can do this one of 2 ways. Easiest way is go to File, Download, and you want to download it as an image. Now, depending on your computer, you can either, if you have a Mac, I know I can do it on my Mac, you can actually just copy and paste this drawing. So I'm able to actually just copy and paste this drawing. So I'm going to hit Command-C, copy, and I'm going to just paste it right underneath my handout where it says graph, and look at it, it's got everything on there for me. If you are not able to copy and paste on your computer, all you want to do is you just want to save this drawing somewhere where you know where it is. I'm going to save it to my desktop. And then once you've saved that drawing to somewhere on your computer where you know where it is, you can just in this document here, you can go to Insert, you can go to Image, Upload from your computer, and now I've inserted my graph. So to get full marks on your graph, you want to make sure you've got your title, you want to make sure you've got your axes, you want to make sure that you sorted your elements correctly, and you want to make sure that you labeled your elements. And you're just going to copy and paste your graph right underneath where it says graph. Once that's done, you do have a couple analysis questions. You're just going to take a look at your graph, and you are going to answer these thinking questions. These thinking questions, you can go ahead, you can just type right below. So what group of elements corresponds to the peaks? I'm just going to the group. I'm not going to give you the answer. And whatever your answer is, I just ask that you either highlight your answer or you can change the color of your answer as well too. That way I can just really easily see that's your answer. It's not the question. And then I can go ahead and I can mark it nice and easy. Once you've done this assignment here, you're going to go ahead and you are going to upload it to the Dropbox. So that's the easiest way digitally to graph. Again, if you have another program that you want to use, great. If you really want to graph by hand, good for you. You can absolutely graph by hand as well too. And then you would just take a picture of your graph and you would insert it here. So just a reminder, this assignment is going to be due on Sunday. The earlier you start it, the better, because it can be a little bit tedious. Graphs can be tedious to work with. So I would get this one out of the way first before you start your Lewis assignment. Good luck. As always, email me with any questions, and we'll see you in class.